Hey guys, it's Serge, and today I wanted to talk about what to focus on day in and day out. I know when I first started in this industry, I had no idea what I was doing. My background's in structural engineering, so I knew exactly what I needed to do as structural engineer. I always had a plan going into the week. Hey, this is where I am. I'm at 30% CDs, 60% CDs. I need to get to 100% CDs. And I knew the next steps, what calcs I had to run, what drawings I had to create. But then once I moved into sales, it was like, hey, here's a product up of our products and services. Now go figure out and go sell. What the hell do I do? You know what made it even worse too was the fact that I lived in New York City and I lived in a 400 square foot apartment, right? So my bedroom, living room, and office were all the same space. I used to send emails and sit down right away because my body was confused. I'd send an email, work a little bit, but I was so used to sitting down and laying down on my couch that I would send an email and sit down for 10 minutes. And then I'd realize, oh shit, I haven't been working. So I had to learn fairly quickly how to stay active and how to keep working to the point where I had to start working out of my house. I couldn't figure it out. But the one thing I took from there, my focus on revenue generating activities. And those revenue generating activities, RGAs, was what helped me level up and start making over 200K as a business development manager. Top performers focus on RGAs a minimum of 4 to 5 hours a day. Let that sink in. Revenue generating activities, a minimum of 4 to 5 hours a day. That's extremely important. So, what are RGAs? So, RGAs, from my last video, you'll know that I talk about two core functions within this role. One of the functions is prospecting, that's creating opportunities. The other function is sales, and that's closing opportunities and advancing your pipeline. So within prospecting, you have a few revenue generating activities that you should be focusing on every day. So for prospecting, what you want to focus on is developing a point of view. That's your POV. So you're doing research. You have your list of your accounts that you're going after and the people within those accounts. And so you're doing research on those accounts and on those executives on how you can best serve them. And through that, you're developing something called a point of view. And that's basically you're taking their goals and linking how your products and service can actually help them meet their goals. Are they trying to increase profitability? Are they trying to increase territory and market share? So how does working with you help them meet their goals? It takes deep work. You need to understand the account you're after. That's why we want to have a limited amount and also a limited amount of prospects so that we can really tailor in our message and our value and just focusing on hitting those people over and over with the same value message and then updating it as we learn more about that organization. You may go in telling them that they want to increase their market share, but they actually find out that there's another project they want you to work on because they're actually trying to increase speed or they're trying to increase the quality of that project. So you're going to want to tailor that value based on reaching out to them and as you get first contact. So what are they saying? No plan survives first contact with the enemy. Second, you want to have developed that point of view. You want to do outreach. Who cares about developing a point of view and keeping it in your folder? You want to develop that outreach, and that's communicating that POV, and that's either going to be through email, phone, LinkedIn, and/or snail mail. And what I mean by that is you're developing it really through all of them because it's going to be a rare instance where you cold email a target and the first one lands. It takes multiple touch points. These executives are where they are because they've learned to cut out the noise. Same thing you're doing. You're learning how to drown out that noise and focus on these two functions of your job. They've done the same thing. And that's how they were able to rise up the ranks and get to where they are. If they took meetings with everyone, they wouldn't be where they are today. Then once you're doing your outreach and you start booking some meetings, you want to prepare for those meetings. You need to deliver on that promise and that offer that you sent them and how you're going to deliver that value to them. That takes some time. You don't want to go in there and just showing up and asking what they do. You're going to look highly underprepared. And that's what all the other vendors are doing. So if you want to stand out, you want to go in there prepared. And all of this takes time. And I know what you're thinking. Shit, I'm already doing so much. How do I fit all this in? And that's the point. That's how you get to this top 1%. It takes work. And that work is going to shine through. And it's going to make you the choice. Next, you want to make sure that you're focusing on meetings, booking those meetings and being in the presence of your prospect. You want to make sure you're on the phone with them. You want to make sure that you're meeting them in person, virtual calls, but basically being in the presence of your prospect. And that's anywhere where you can have a two-way communication. Email is not being in the presence of, it's being top of mind. But being in the presence of means you're actually having a live conversation with them, be it phone, be it in person, being at a networking event, being in a virtual meeting. And you want to make sure that you're spending time in your sales week that's actually been in the presence of your customer. Next, you want to make sure you're following up on those meetings and phone calls. So you want to follow up on all those prospects, as I mentioned. That outreach is not going to be the first one. But the second one on follow-up is after you've had the meeting or you've had that phone call, you want to send a recap. You want to say, because that gives you another touch point. Hey, it was great talking to you. We covered these points. Here's our next steps going forward. Here are my deliverables. But just something so that you stay top of mind and you're reaching back out. So you have that phone call. You let them know that, hey, you'd like to come visit them in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. You'll send them a few calendar invites, or you let them know about a case study that you guys are working on that may interest them. You can deliver some other value of how you save time and money for another client, but just something to stay top of mind. But basically, you want to set that clear next actionable step when you're on those phone calls with them so that there's a reason to follow up again. And you're going to hear that again because it's going to apply to sales as well. So your second function is also going to be within sales. And there's a bunch of revenue generating activity we want to do there as well. So one of them is advancing deals, obviously. And there's a debate as to where you should spend the most of your time. Should it be on advancing pipeline or should it be on prospecting? And the way I like to think about this is that you want to look at your pipeline to make that decision. If your pipeline is weak, meaning you don't have many opportunities, you want to spend a lot of time prospecting. If your pipeline is heavy with opportunities, you want to spend the bulk of your time closing and advancing those opportunities. You want to either kill the deal or push the deal forward. But you don't want it just lounging out. Like the worst thing you can have is 4,000 opportunities in your pipeline. That's not real. If you think about 365 days, you have 4,000 opportunities. You're doing nothing. So you want to make sure you keep your pipeline tight. And for every project, you know exactly what stage it's in and what your next move is and what the clear next actionable step is. So again, if your pipeline is heavy, you want to focus on advancing those deals that you know are going to advance, or killing off the other ones or pushing them to next year. But you don't want to keep anything that's quote unquote hopeful in there. And again, if you're lacking on pipeline, you want to make sure that you're getting meetings and you're starting to hit the ground and really start building up. So what's that going to look like in terms of sales and what your RGAs are? Your goal with advancing pipeline is you're really just guiding the prospect to the next step in the sales process. And that sales process is your sales process. And you're basically helping them make decisions to level up to that next step. So each process or each stage is going to have a next level decision. Hey, we have an opportunity. Okay, you're going to qualify it. All right, here's what we can do for you. Does this make sense? Should we go into a proposal or should I go to a job walk? So you're just helping them level up. So the first step is you want to qualify the deal. And there are 5 main questions you want to ask that can help qualify whether or not it's a real opportunity for you. Next, if it does end up meeting that criteria, you may propose a job walk, right? It gets you FaceTime with the client, which is always ideal because here you can get into really deep discovery on the priorities and the decision-making process. Everyone's always going to jump at you and say cost is the most important thing until you really start digging and you find out somewhere they messed up and this is rework and it's on critical path and their schedule's going to get blown to shit. So actually, it would be cheaper paying more money to get you on site faster. But those are all the things you're going to discover through deep discovery of being on site or just being face to face and in the presence of your prospect, because everyone's always going to say something until you really start uncovering all those little nuances. And that's how you win the job, through that deep discovery. Then you want to take that deep discovery back and have internal strategies with your team. How do you go forward and win the job? What's your best path forward to actually win the job? And who do you engage with internally on your team to develop a strategy and the deliverables needed to win that job? Once that's all created, then you'll get into proposal creation, which is also another revenue generating activity because you're understanding how the job is going to be won and all the intricacies so you can bring it back to the project manager, the project executive on what you're doing differently and even propose some gaps and expose some gaps that if they're getting a quote from another contractor that you can basically plant those seeds of doubt that they can start asking questions to the other people. Hey, how did you do this? Are they even looking at this? So you're basically at that point learning about how you're going to do the project so that you can then plant those seeds to the next person. And that's what you're also doing in a D-scope meeting. So you just don't email the proposal. You're walking them through how you thought about the job and how it's best going to suit them and how it meets their priorities. And then once you go through that, your last one is you want to be setting up clear, actionable next steps. And that's your CANS, clear, actionable next step on when you should follow up. And basically with this, you want to focus on what matters, not simply the outcome. You want to focus on the process and the results will take care of themselves. That's why top performers spend 4 to 5 hours a day on RGAs, revenue generating activities, simply because if you're focusing on the process, it will show up. And this is how you generate a pipeline, create a pipeline, and also advance your pipeline so that you're hitting quota every year.